In my life, I held several different jobs. I think one of them that I enjoyed the most was teaching middle school kids algebra. I thought I was a fairly good teacher. Most parents agreed. A few wanted to run me out of town, and it was because I really thought in teaching algebra and teaching math, you can teach children to memorize things, and that's great. It's a great foundation. But I always thought that the greatest thing that we do in teaching children is how to think, how to come up with an answer. I used to tell them when I would look at their homework, even grading tests, I'm not necessarily interested in what the number is at the end. I want to know, how did you get there? And I wasn't one of those that said there's only one way to get there. I accepted more than one way. And I look back too at how I was taught, especially about my faith. Many of us grew up with the Baltimore Catechism, which people greatly criticized because they said all we did was memorize things. And yeah, we did memorize a lot. But for me, and I bet for many of you out there, it wasn't the end of where our faith was, but the beginning. Like Father was saying this week in Sunday Mass, that knowledge that we started with was the good soil that our faith grew out of. And even as a kid, I thought, goodness gracious, this book is so long, and most people can't get past the first 4 questions. Not really in their life. Who is God? Who made me? Why did God make me? We learned those things, and I thought, unfortunately, much of the world can't get past know Him, love Him, and serve Him in this world and be happy with Him forever in the next. That was a stumbling block to many. So we have this gospel where Jesus says, well, if you love mother or father more than me, you're not worthy of me. If you love son or daughter more than me, you're not worthy of me. And you might recall we had this at Sunday Mass a couple of weeks ago. And my wife drives me to church on Sunday and Saturday. And I knew this was the gospel. I said, honey, there's a difficult gospel this week. Wanted you to be aware of it before we get there. And I understand it because in my years as being a deacon and going to the hospital and visiting people, and if I'm a chauvinist, I apologize, but there's nothing I've seen more powerful than a mother's love for their child. And what a mother wouldn't do. I've seen in a hospital what a mother wouldn't do for the life of her child. We have saints that showed mothers gave their lives so that their child could be born. And Jesus isn't saying, as the Father said that weekend, that this was the gospel. Jesus isn't saying not to love your mother and father, but what is the first commandment? You will love, right? I am the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not have strange gods before me. And that is basically saying nothing comes before God. And when He means nothing, He means mother and father, son or daughter. That it is our responsibility, and it is in a commandment, you will honor thy mother and thy father. And we will be held accountable to how we raised and took care of and taught our children. But at the end of the day, the reason we do all these things is because of our love and our worship for God. The ultimate end isn't our children to get into the best college. Isn't us to live in the best neighborhood. Those are wonderful things. I'm never putting them down. But at the end of the day, and I think as you get older and approach there are more days behind you than there are in front of you, you really come to realize that at the end of the day, all that's going to matter is where will I be for eternity? Where will my children be for eternity? Nothing else matters. So we take Jesus' words to take up our cross and to follow him, and to love him more than anything else in the way we love our mother, our father, our son, and our daughter.